Welcome to another pfSense. They changed the license stream, but technically this is changing it back to what it was planned to be. Uh, yeah, I'm just doing it as a live stream for a couple reasons. One, so I don't have to take the time to wholly produce a video, put it scripted out. Two, just to get the information out there quicker. And three, so people go, well, did you clear this with Netgate, Tom? Aren't you secretly working for them? Which I don't. And I thought I'd mention that right off the bat, but there's still going to be people leaving the comments down below because I've been realizing a lot of people seem to be upset with the fact that I am not a crazy angered getting the proverbial pitch forks, and forking the project and all kinds of other discussions going on this. But all right. Halfway through a sentence, all I said was welcome to another live stream about the pfSense licensing. And yes, this is just simple doing it all live. And I want to make sure I answer questions from people. So those are all the reasons I'm doing it. So it's sincere, I'm not scripting it, and we're doing it live. It's just faster sometimes to get things out. Now we'll start with what happened for those of you that didn't know or are just waking up to this. And before we even get to what happened, if you are using Netgate hardware, not an issue. This isn't a problem for you. If you're using Netgate hardware, if you have one of the, Netgate 6100s, 4100s, or all the different Netgate boxes, they already come with pfSense Plus. There's nothing extra you have to do. End of story. This is for, in the community specifically, people who are buying it for home. I always say home lab, but it's actually home plus lab. They had different licenses on there. And they have these licenses. I've done videos on this as a topic. If you want a pfSense Plus, they had a free license, but the license always had a note that sometime in the future, they would charge $129 for it. So that was in the note from the day one. So people could have stayed and still can to this day stay with pfSense CE, which is free. So if you want pfSense CE, also you can stop watching the video and just use pfSense CE and say, well, that's what I'm going to use. Now, this change, though, of course, rightfully so, was not a great move. The reason they did it is all explained in their blog post. They had people, essentially, these different knockoff manufacturers. Hold on, I have one. The companies that make some of these other boxes, if you will, pre-packaging that license on there. And this is obviously a problem. You can't have third-party companies violating license. Now, the arguments I seen in Reddit was who cares about licenses and, stuff like that. I'm like, this kind of matters to developers. And I've talked about this, like, Netgate is a major contributor, and I have my previous video where this was discussed, and I'll talk about it later in the video when we cover the topic here. But they're a major contributor to FreeBSD, and then everyone benefits from the downstream from that. So I get it. There's definitely a cost to all of that. Developers are very expensive people, especially really good ones who can write good code for firewalls. They cost a lot of money. You got to fund that somehow. Netgate funds that through the sale of their hardware and, of course, the pfSense Plus. Now, let's get over to that change they made. They removed this home lab ability for people, which I get it. I don't know why they did it this way. And I did have a conversation with Netgate, and I waited to do the video to after I did a blog post. I just kind of said, what were you thinking? And it summed up well here. And they made a harsh move. I mean, I think it's nice, and there's not an easy way to do this because they don't make videos like I do. It's not their thing. I get it. And they brought back the TAC Lite. Now, they had mentioned to me that's what they were going to lean towards, and they'd let me know that they'd probably be doing this. And I said, that's fine. They've brought it back, but they're getting rid of the free still. So there's basically the $129 charge that they said would happen sometime in the future has now happened. $129 a year if you want pfSense Plus TAC Lite. If you want pfSense CE, still free. No charge there. So this is the blog post. And, let me zoom in a little bit, make it a little easier to read. But all of this is linked down below. I have a long forum post where I have a lot of detail that I put into it, probably even more than I'll have in this video. My forums are free to view, free to sign up for. You do require an email address to sign up to keep the spammers from just posting in there. But you can read through all this. It's all linked, and you'll find that forum post link where I've been discussing and kind of making a mega thread, if you will, is linked in the description of this video. Now, this is where we want to go and talk about, we did not set out to make a commercial fork of the pfSense project that would be weaponized against us and the community. Recent discoveries called us the question of benefiting the work we do. pfSense Plus has been illegally copied, modified, and resold to third-party hardware in the cloud. in direct violation of our terms and licensing. So completely like within their rights. But I think the reaction was wrong, and so do they. And let me find the exact one. Uh, should This is the one downside. I got to make sure I'm reading exactly the right one. So this is the October 30th one. Uh, yeah, right here. This is the word I'm looking for. This is what they said too. When I talked to them, these are their words. I didn't do a video after I had a conversation with them. I want to wait till they had the blog post out. And the net result is we reacted too quickly. In doing so, we made mistakes. This is just a human thing. People make mistakes, and they seen the outrage of the community. And I directly talked to them, and I said the same thing the community's saying here. I didn't defend, well, they should have gotten rid of it. I was definitely not of that attitude. I was like, well, they should fix this. And then when I got to talk to people directly at Netgate, I was like, this could have been solved with just changing it to 129. And so they've had a lot of feedback, and yes, they brought it back for 129. So now you can get the TAC light system in there. Now, there's another note here that I think is really interesting, and it's the fact that they are going to update the OpenSSL 3.012 in both pfSense Plus and CE. So they're doing the work that it takes to put all that together. And that's no small task. There's another blog post they have specifically talking about that. We're going to get on this topic here in a few minutes about why that matters so much. And it's pretty much because all your VPNs and lots of other things are based on it. Back over to here, though, the going through their details here. So no impact on Netgate appliance orders. Like I say, how to get TAC Lite for new installations, a Netgate store subscription option. If you've already done pfSense CE plus Home Lab with upgraded TAC Lite subscription, you can make the purchase through the Netgate store. Just ensure you have the Netgate identifier handy for a smooth transaction. Please note that existing Home Lab users who choose not to purchase a TAC Lite subscription will not receive updates when they are released. Now, this means you have until, this is a confusing point that I think some people had, but you have until that next version of pfSense Plus. So if you're on pfSense Plus, but you are going to choose not to do this, you do not want to buy a license, you're not running Netgate hardware, okay, then all you have to do is switch back to CE. Simple as that, or wait for the next version of CE that comes out, because the next version of CE will be out pretty soon. 2309 is coming out relatively soon. And I don't think 129 is an unreasonable amount of money for this for the Plus version. But you don't have to get it. You can get CE still, and it's free. And they're updating this problem with the OpenSSL to version 3 in both CE, it's not out yet, and the upcoming pfSense Plus. So back to the topic here. If you want to switch back one more time, I have a video on it. It's really simple to do, to roll backwards to the previous version. So if no one is locked in there. So it's not a huge deal in some instances here. I feel bad that I suggested everyone switch to it, but anyone who switched to it should have known it's going to be 129, because I never hid that. It's said it on their page from day one is going to be, it's 129 sometime in the future. Well, it's now that is the future. It would have been a smoother future, and they know this, and we all know this as people who are users of pfSense. We all are aware that the future would have been better if they just would have said, we're just dropping the free and going with the going with the 129 now. People would have shrugged their shoulders, and they would have said, well, they put it in writing since the day they released pfSense Plus that sometime in the future it's going to cost 129. And now it does. The downside is there was this little hiccup for a few days where it was not available. So there's actually only a few days of not available. And this is where, well, everything is, kind of upset. And I get it, because they shouldn't have done that. And they apologize for it. And you can forgive them. You can move on. You can use something else. That's really your prerogative to do what you want to do. You can roll back and put your config XML installed and restore your configuration. Yes, I want to answer some of these questions that are in here as best I can. You bought a 6100 and you can keep the pitchfork in the shed. Yes. Yes. Just a lot of people in comments here. I'm trying to find which ones I can answer real quick before we go a little further. But I think you guys get the idea here that, Netgate is someone who has made mistakes. They fix the mistakes. Now, one last thing I'll offer for you, and I'm going to throw this in there. And I don't have a link for this. I'll post it in my forums now that it's going to be public information. Because hold on, let me give you something that you will like. I was able to get this. They're giving it to other people, but they said I could share this in my video. And I'm going to zoom in. And Tech Lite. This is a TACLITE. Really simple. You can use this, by the way, to get this for $99. They said this is good through November. So if you would like to buy it, because it's back on the website, this will get you a discount. There's not anything. This is just a discount code that lasts until the last day in November of 2023. And you get $29 off for each one of these that you buy. Pretty simple. I thought I mentioned that on there because I did. Their marketing people said they would offer a discount. I said, okay, what's the discount going to be? And they didn't know at the time exactly what it was. I think they weren't sure, but they just sent this to me today. And the blog post came out today. They sent this to me and said, yes, you can use it in the video. You can share it with the crowd. So cool. You get another $30 off. So $99 for your first year if you want. Just offering a discount code here, folks. Now let's finish a couple more comments here. Home users don't even use all the features. $129 a year is too expensive. We'll stick with CE. It stays up to date. Well, and we're going to talk about a few things related to pfSense in a minute, because this is going to be where I have some things that I really want to discuss about security. Let's see. It's for the most part, home users don't really use one thing. A lot of the only real thing, let's just say it that way. The only real thing that I would say is a big plus, play on words here, for home users using pfSense is going to be, I love the boot environments feature. I know they put a lot of work into it. Maybe they aren't kind of backport it, but I think for home lab people, that's a cool feature. But a lot of you virtualize it, so maybe it's not as big of a feature. But I do like to be able to do the boot environments. Outside of that, for a home user environment, pfSense Plus doesn't really have a bunch of things that home users really need. So, I don't think $129 a year is bad at all for a firewall. I mean, you pay more for Netflix. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm satisfied with this. They said it would be $129 and they're living up to it. That's how I feel too. I wish they would not made it difficult and they could have just done this. But in a nutshell, they took the hard road to get there, the roundabout way of wondering what would happen if they didn't do it. Or I don't think they even thought that far. Like, I had a conversation. They're nice people. They contributed a ton of code back to the code base. We'll talk about that in just a second here, but it's like, I don't think they're intentionally angry, malicious people. They just are human like all of us and do things that sometimes don't make a lot of sense to the rest of us. Yeah, the boot environment helped me out a lot. For nonprofit organizations, I'd reach out to them. I don't know if they have any discounts for nonprofits. I mean, if you're nonprofit, buy a Netgate appliance and see if they have a discount on the appliance. And if you buy an appliance, you're kind of fine with that. Now, here is the things that I want to talk about that are why I'm staying with pfSense. Now, I've covered all the pfSense drama change here. So you hopefully have watched this video 13 minutes in. You can stop watching here if you want to know why Tom's staying with it. You know that what pfSense did, what they changed, that they apologized, that you got a discount code. Boom, we're 13 or 14 minutes in. And that is where we're going to put a demarcation here. And now Tom's just going to answer questions and talk about a few other things. Explain pitchforks. I had said in the beginning of the video, people are getting their pitchforks out because they're angry that they made changes to the Plus license, but now they technically brought it back to what they originally said when they released Plus. And if you have a Netgate appliance, a 6100, or really any Netgate appliance that is not end of life, you can keep loading and you can keep loading the updates for free. The Netgate's appliances come with pfSense Plus, and you don't have to do any of this licensing. This is only for people running boxes like this that are not Netgate appliances. This is who this applies to. I mean, or virtualized people as well. But this is the one thing I want to talk about, because I see Man, I know people keep telling me open sense, and that's not really, there's some complexities here, and let's talk about it. So this is me a couple days ago before they fixed it. And I said, I think they'll fix the issue. I'm not like to switch for a few reasons. Let me zoom in and it's really clear. This is in my forums. These are my words. This is me. I'm LTS Tom inside of my own forums. And we have many pfSense systems in production at clients running Netgate hardware. My business use case, we have sold these to a lot of customers. I don't remember the exact number, but it's more than 50. And we have to manage all these. They're on Netgate. It works. We have spare Netgate appliance so we can rapidly recover clients. Yes, we have spares in stock. If a client has a failure, if we have to go on site, we can grab their config file and reload it. These are all the reasons I'm staying with pfSense and not switching to OpenSense. Now, pfSense has integration with our business tools. I spelled out business tools. I meant to say our, and have it integrated with Auvik and Blumera. I don't think Auvik has an integration for the OpenSense. I'm not sure, and I'm no Blumera doesn't. There's no easy way to move all the complicated configs over. Yeah, there's not a one-to-one config change, so there's another challenge with it. My team is very familiar with pfSense, and retraining people has a high cost. We have an entire team that support this, that support very complicated configurations, so we're not likely to change. This is just the way it is. Buying a license for the business stable version of OpenSense doesn't really make sense because, yes, OpenSense does have a business version that's stable with less updates. And that doesn't make sense when we already have Netgate hardware. There's a cost to that. It's like all the other things and their own licenses on top to get a stable version. And this is the last one, and this is a big one here that I have a lot of comments on. I still don't have the same faith in OpenSense when it comes to security versus pfSense. And in my forums is a list of the pfSense CVEs and the OpenSense CVEs. OpenSense has a lot more vulnerabilities in it. It's just one of those things that's going to be a factor. Now let's go over here of why I cannot use, and this is a compliance problem. I can't use software with vulnerabilities in it. You can be comfortable doing that, and I am less comfortable doing that. And this is very pointed, I want to say, at the fact that even Netgate, I'm completely aware that pfSense still is based on the current released versions of CE and Plus are still running the older version of OpenSSL, which is OpenSSL 111. This is what ships in BSD. Now, Netgate has been working to update this. So yes, this is absolutely a problem because OpenSSL 111 is no longer supported. Don't ask me what happened to 2. They just jumped into 3 as the new versioning number. So now things have to move to OpenSense version 3. Now, this is from the October 25th of 2023, so 5 days ago. This is the release notes. A word of caution for third-party repository users. This is from OpenSense. The FreeBSD currently changes a number of things in our ecosystem. At first, the changes is to move the OpenSSL package to OpenSSL 111. Since the former is now based on version 3, this can and likely would disrupt updates of third-party packages not having followed this change. While we want to use OpenSSL 3 eventually, being in the middle of a stable run is not the place to do it. That's kind of a problem because right here is a CVE in OpenSSL. That means there is an active, now I say active CVE, but let me clarify. I'm not saying the skies are falling or anything like that. I want to let you know that this CVE, to my knowledge, is rated as moderate, and I don't know any way that this breaks a VPN. But the fact that there's an unsupported OpenSSL is a real problem because if they find another bug in it, and they have not moved to the new version of OpenSSL, and they're still basing it on the old one, who fixes that bug? By the way, it's not being supported by OpenSSL, and OpenSense waits for things to come downstream from BSD because they're not a major code contributor to BSD. They are waiting for it to come downstream. And because they're waiting for it to come downstream, it means right now you have a OpenSense being released with vulnerable libraries in it. And this is just a problem. If we look at what pfSense is doing, Netgate migrates OpenSSL 3 and pfSense Plus. Now, they had commented that they're also going to do this in the pfSense CE, so they're going to have a release of both coming out soon. So even Netgate is technically, because it was end of September, they're 30 days past and have a library within here. Now, there's no major flaw at this moment. There's just that CVE that's moderate that has something to do with the key generation. I haven't found anyone's write-up to tell me exactly what could be compromised with the key generation in there, but nonetheless, Netgate is moving to OpenSSL 3. This is not like just swap the library. This is rebuilding everything that depends on it, and the people at OpenSense are aware of that. That's why they have delayed this, because they know it would break so many things. And this is all the things that are using this. Anything that uses a CA server or CA certificate, OpenVPN instances, and other consumer certificates, certificate manager, IPsec. Unbound does not require any adjustments because it still supports SHA-1 certificates for the time being. And the migration OpenSSL was essentially the work done by Netgate in 2309. Support was complex. The changes have been incorporated with little impact to users as possible, but some services may require reconfiguration to tell your certificates to use stronger algorithm, because some things are going to be deprecated. This, like I said, is kind of a stop right there for me to run OpenSense, because would be loading something, if I were to load this, that has an insecure library and no roadmap, no date planned to get that fixed. And if I'm wrong about that, if someone can point me to, and I've been in the OpenSense forums reading through it, and this is the release notes, that they're staying with the old unsupported version, this kind of bothers me that they don't have a plan to fix. Now, like I said, I can be completely wrong about something and people can tell me I'm wrong. Please post in my forum, send me a message, a DM, or whatever you need to do to say, Tom, you're completely wrong. There's nothing wrong with OpenSSL. And they somehow are going to magic it support together. Someone's going to update those libraries. But according to everything I've read, that is a dead version. And that's the reason Netgate and other companies, this is something you can go through. The OpenSSL 111 problem is not just a FreeBSD problem. It is a open source library support problem against other packages. So it's definitely something worth discussing here. So let me see if there's any questions on this. I thought the pitchfork was a reference to the FreeBSD. We can go with that. Well, they could just require the Open 1.1 package when installing the Open 3.0 package, I guess. Yeah, that isn't... You have to refactor some code to make that work. I guess Netgate's hardware is just stable. I'm paying anyways. I prefer to pay the hardware that comes with the software, free tech support, and it's fanless, I think is probably the word you're trying to say there. Yeah, 99-year is a no-brainer. I feel like the 4100 might be a sweet spot for home users, maybe 6100 if you're going crazy. Yes. I like that. I will laugh at people who call me PF Simp. I'm just saying, if I were to switch away, I've seen people like calling for the end of Netgate. The reality is Netgate is helping to prop up FreeBSD. So is IX Systems, but there's a reason some of these other companies are kind of looking at other alternatives. It's sad, but FreeBSD is not what it was before. It doesn't compare to Linux in terms of support. This is one of the things. Firewall support's difficult. Having upstream support's really critical. I mean, if there's no easy solutions for that, and no one's contributing code, yeah. Besides pfSense and OpenSense, what other home open source free firewalls do you recommend to try out? That's a good question, because I don't have an answer. I was going through on Wikipedia, and I was doing this in another live stream just as a discussion. I used to play with so many old firewalls and things like that. They're, I say old, they were new when I was using them, but I loved all of them, like Smoothwall and IPCOP. They're all defunct. There's just not anyone supporting open source firewalls anymore because of the complexity of the firewalls. There's very few of them left. And when you're trying to get someone to do code audits, code review, and really poke at security for these firewalls, you can't just trust any one company for it, especially when my task is keeping my clients secure in a commercial sense. I can't just go, well, I'm just going to use a free open source project and hope they update things that they said they don't have a roadmap to update. That's kind of a problem. I would be a hypocrite to use something that literally doesn't have a roadmap of fixing out-of-date library support. There's no way around it. I can disagree with Netgate, but also realize they are the best option for security. Those things can both be true at the same time. So I laugh that someone's calling me like I'm defending Netgate, but I'm like, I didn't defend their decision, but I also have to defend my clients against security threats. The other options are, when it comes to open source ones, I don't really know because Untangle got bought by Arista, and I think they only have, I don't think they have anything for free anymore. They only have the Untangle home edition, but I think they removed the word. Double check. Did they remove it from open source? I was never like, I did some Untangle videos. I was just never a big fan of them. They have a weird firewall interface, essentially, is how I felt about it. But Untangle is another option that's out there. Uh, Sophos bought, I can't remember what, someone can remember in the comments because Sophos, I think it's called Sophos XG. They took a commercial firewall or an open source firewall and just got rid of the open source and rolled it into their own thing. I can't remember which one they bought. Was it Endian Firewall or was it Smoothwall that eventually worked its way into being that? I mean, there's just not a lot of options out there. I appreciate your coverage, Tom. I was very mad at first, found out, but after hearing your insight and coverage, I'll just be CE for my house because I don't use the features. Yeah. OpenSSL 1.1 was dead in the water with the December 2 CVs. Even Red was thinking about migrating OpenSSL through time, but ultimately didn't because stable API, yes, concerns by customers. Okay, yeah, OpenSSL 2 was consumed by OpenSSL for FIPS, so they advised to move there. Yep. Without Netgate pfSense, OpenSense, and this is something people don't really realize. Vios is great for data centers. They have a license. If you want a stable version of Vios, get ready for this. 8,000 a year. That's on the Vios page. So when people talk about Vios being an alternative, I'm like, to what? Yeah, Smoothwall and Endian were two really cool. And Smoothwall, Endian, IP Cop. I mean, there were some good ones out there, but yeah, it's just a lot. Let's see. Yeah, Sophos has a home lab version of their firewall. Their home lab, I think, is free, but it has limitations on there. I don't know what the limitations are because I don't use it. But yeah. I see people, I've seen people say this. I don't use it. I don't really have an interest in using the Sophos one. I don't know. Some people like it, some people hate it. Yeah, IP Fire still exists, but boy, feature lacking is for sure. They don't have a lot of features. Yeah. It's interesting that pfSense went FreeBSD so early, but has such a problem with OpenSSL. No, they have a whole thing of why they went to 14. It was because they knew these things were coming because 13 is still on the old version. 14 is on the new version of OpenSSL. So, and by the way, Netgate is contributing a lot of the code to that. So that's a whole other thing that Netgate is contributing so much to the code. Matter of fact, one of the things I thought was interesting, and let me highlight something for people. One, this right here, you can dig through all of these. This is some of the pfSense developers. I was, going through, and some of them have unique enough names. It's super easy to find some of their code contributions. But one of the things I wanted to point out, for example, is like this right here. If you're wondering, how did FreeBSD get 2.5 gig support on those network cards? I've seen people go, but OpenSense supports it. Yeah, OpenSense wouldn't support the network cards if it was not sponsored by Rubicon Communications LLC, also known as Netgate. There's actually a ton. If you start going through all the code contributions that they've done, you'll find that there's all these drivers, all these things. Matter of fact, Christian McDonald, you may have seen him do some posts before. I've recommended his video on WireGuard. Christian McDonald has been submitting code patches. This is by Christian McDonald. This is the unbound Python support and all the updated Python things that got fixed in there. So Yeah, without Netgate, how does OpenSense benefit if someone doesn't write the drivers and do the updates? I'm just pointing out that's one of the things with it here. It's not like people are like, oh, you're rooting for Netgate. No, I'm just living in the real world where I want my free thing, but someone had to write all the code for my free thing. This is I just was debating someone in my forum because they were complaining about Zen Orchestra locking things behind a paywall. I'm like, oh no, you just got to compile it yourself. Oh no, I shouldn't have to compile it myself. They should just give me all the features for free and not charge. I'm like, no, they charge for service delivery, but you can compile it. I have a video on how to compile it yourself. I don't know. But in FreeBSD, OpenSSL can be used for a base system, but the ports can opt to use either base OpenSSL or the port version. I guess the problem is they don't want to use different versions. Yeah. Connected transition BSD to Linux at some point. Would that be too challenging? Yeah, that's not happening. Yep. They went the 129 route. Ping me if you want to join, Jason, and join in the debate of all this fun stuff. But yeah, they went the 129 route essentially, and they gave us a discount code of TAC Lite so we can get $99 for, you know, for the trouble, I guess. Yeah, this is there's no way for them to simply move it over. You can't just take and swap the system to be Linux on the back end. There's way too much dependency for both OpenSense and pfSense on things that are only features of FreeBSD. They're very intertwined. And the reality is these are the projects that are helping to prop up, Netgate putting all the code. Let's pull up, where did I have this? Right here. I shared this. This is posted in my forums, all the details. This is all the code contributions. This is from not Netgate. This is from the FreeBSD Foundation. Netgate accounts for like 8% of the sponsored commits. Netflix is 15% of them. Juniper Networks is only 6%, but Juniper Networks actually went through some of the things like they're committing firewall things to it as well. So you have these companies doing it. So without all these large scale code commits, they're doing it. Now, I don't know if I can pull this up. So I have it. Yes. Let's pull it over here. I'm not in any way telling people just not to use OpenSense because I know that'll come up. There is a thread right here you can find where I had a discussion with Franco. I think he's the head of the project at there, and we were talking about OpenSense. He has a link here, and you can see what code commits they're doing. They're not doing none, but they're doing very little code commits compared to the other people, for those of you wondering. So I addressed some issues, and you can see me posting as Lawrence Systems in the forum. So if you're looking for me in the OpenSense forums, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in there, but if someone wants to call me out or tell me I'm wrong, I do have an account in the OpenSense forums. I use the same name on all my forums, Lawrence Systems. So just so people know. Yeah, Jason's right about this. The UDM is meh from a next-gen firewall standpoint. Also, the UDMs are not very customizable. The firewall rules are atrociously bad to write. And yeah. As a fellow MSP, I really appreciate you following up on this and putting out the videos so quickly as things happen. Adam, hopefully you're using Netgate hardware. And I will tell you a little bit. If you dig around and know where to look, you will find that they are working on, from the people at Netgate, because this was posted in Reddit somewhere. I'd have to dig around to it. If you dig around, you will find that this is actually funny. Are you taking your son to Scouts or are you joining a live stream? But I do know that you can find on Reddit, there's a very rough draft that was posted. It may have been taken down. This is by Netgate. There was a comment they made. They're working on a central management system that is going to be for pfSense Plus. So there's going to be something that's for us IT people who manage it. They realize we're a big category and they're looking at, developing that. So you didn't know OpenSense had no roadmap for SSL, changes your immediate recommendations. Yeah. It's like I said, this is a big concern because if they have to rely on things to happen, I just don't think they have the staff. Matter of fact, I thought I had discussion I could pull up on that. It's in their forum. If you dig around, they were talking about this as early as May in the OpenSense forums, going, "We'll wait to see what FreeBSD does," was kind of comments I seen people making. And I'm like, okay, but that's not really a plan for security to say, I'll wait for when FreeBSD gets around to fixing it. BIOS LTS can be built from source from an XCPNG, but that's not the same as actually supporting it. Like, they want you to use their rolling release. If you have to build it from source each time, that doesn't make it easy to update. Oh, Jason's going to join me here. Let me send him the link. Jason's actually spent a lot of time in the BSD world. OpenSense 24.1 have a roadmap for OS version. No, I don't think this will be. See, the UDM can't hold a candle to what you can do with pfSense free, and this is the this is kind of the problem. Hey, Jason, so this is a fair question. People like, well, you think more people will use a UDM over pfSense? The reality is, you can't hold a candle to the abilities of pfSense compared to like a UDM. You've got so much more flexibility, so many more features. That's why people use it, and I think for the free version of CE or even paying $129 a year, you got to go to like Juniper to get those level of features in a firewall. You got to go to something like a lot higher and more. I mean,
the management piece of it, it's all just open source stuff, right? If you're willing to go to the command line, you can do all of that stuff without any licensing.
Yeah. Oh, for see, someone says, who's the person on the screen? This is Jason Seigel, president of CNWR. For people that don't know, when I split merged my company, Lawrence Systems does the media stuff. Jason handles all the IT stuff, and I make media and then do consulting at CNWR and all that fun stuff. There's a video on it you can find. That's
but Jason is also a BSD guy.
Yeah, Jason's a BSD guy, and he also has the same task that I do, because people are asking, why can't you just switch to OpenSense? And I said, we have a lot of clients with pfSense. That means we can't just drop and swap, because we got to train everybody. We got people that know. But also, OpenSense doesn't have a security roadmap right now.
Yeah. I think we could probably port the config over. I started looking at it, and it looks like it's probably not that bad to do, but why? Just go back to CE if you're worried about it.
That's kind of my attitude. Just like roll. Yeah. And I showed how easy it was to roll back. It's like it takes so little time. It's like a 15 minutes to reload one of these firewalls. And someone pointed out, I should have said in my video, if you copy the config on a USB at the same time, you can do it in one step instead of booting it up. So yeah, you can do it in one step versus Tom's 2 steps of booting it, loading the config, and telling it to reboot one more time. Yeah, the thing we're missing, though, as you know, is going to be the central management piece. They're working on it. They told me they're working on it. I've seen some preview stuff. I think that's pretty cool. And being a BSD guy, how do you feel? This is the bigger picture stuff. How's BSD look compared to the way it used to look?
It has a different goal than a lot of the Linux distros do, right? Like I'm still on, even though I haven't contributed a long time, I'm still on Puppet at freebsd.org. If you email that, I get it. I'm one of the members of it. I helped Puppet, the newer versions of Puppet, and Leatherman and some of the other dependencies over to FreeBSD. It's not great compared to where it was, 15 years ago. But then again, F5 used to be NetBSD, right? Like, you used to have a bunch of these BSD derivatives used places, and now there just aren't that many left, honestly.
Yeah. So am I wrong? Someone's telling me Juniper's no longer FreeBSD. I don't think that's true.
I don't know. Not all Juniper is FreeBSD, right? No. So that is a very, very big distinction. But are the newer Juno OS is the newer Juno OS Linux?
What other firewalls are based on FreeBSD right now?
So they're running Linux on the bare metal, and then they're running FreeBSD in a QEMU virtual machine on the Linux host.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're still listed as one of the big code contributors is still them. they still Juniper Networks. I figure that means they have at least a pretty strong reliance on it of some sort. So
yeah, Juno's Evolution or something is Linux. That is correct. So I think some of the newer hardware has moved to direct Linux, but that's a lot, right? Like, so Juniper was basically, it started out as all FreeBSD, which is commodity hardware, and then they started making ASICs, right? As you want to go faster, you make ASICs. Well, if the drivers that run those ASICs are written in FreeBSD, then you have to basically port them all to Linux, which has a considerably different low-level API than FreeBSD does.
Yeah, and I think that's what people just don't understand when they were talking about they can't just swap the kernel of the Linux. No, it's the PHP interface is not the hardest part of writing a firewall. It's all those integrations to get everything to work the way you think it should work. There's a lot of details, everything from IPsec VPNs and OpenVPN, which I'm actually kind of, OpenVPN DCO is coming, which is pretty cool. And Netgate is the one who brought that over to FreeBSD as it's part of, it's in the 14 version of FreeBSD. So that's another good feature. It's a way to stop swapping things back and forth over to user space, which is what slows down OpenVPN. So it puts it all, the data channel gets offloaded in kernel space. So you can have a much faster connection over OpenVPN. It actually rivals WireGuard. It's kind of slick, and of course it's OpenVPN, so it has all the other facilities within it that you're used to.
Interesting. Somebody has ported IPFW to Linux, it looks like. So you actually could get IPFW on Linux.
That's interesting. I didn't think anyone would take the time to port that. Oh, I see someone asking about MikroTik.
Man,
they're
such
so
a
quirky.
good idea with such a bad software implementation. It's like it's
the only thing they get going from is they're really inexpensive.
Yeah, 100%. Right, Router OS or Winbox, like Winbox is a turd. Like I have no nice words to say about Winbox. It's terrible.
Sonic walls are actually what was that software they used to use? Because it had a ton of bad vulnerabilities in it. What's that?
Was it VXOS?
Something like that.
I think VXOS is all Linux based these days too.
Yeah, a lot of it switched. Someone said Sonic Walls moved over to Linux, but don't use Sonic Wall. I'm sorry, they're just not.
I mean, maybe Dell will buy them and then unbuy them 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in Netflix is obviously a big supporter of the BSD project because that's how Netflix does all their streaming stuff. They contribute 15% of the commits now, which I think is pretty wild.
Yeah, I actually started Thunderbird just to take a look at the FreeBSD mailing list because I'm still on a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. There used to be so many open source firewalls out there, and I think with the increased complexity of what it takes to build and manage a firewall, they've all just gone defunct. Not enough people have enough time to keep up with what it takes to run a firewall here in 2023. It's Steve Gibson over at GRC had a really good commentary of why there's no one writing a browser. They did some how hard it is to write the engine inside a browser, and I said to start one from scratch today would take a massive team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless you use somebody's JavaScript implementation.
Right. But that's why everyone's that's why everyone just says, we're either going to go Chrome or what's the engine in Firefox called?
Oh, I forget.
Yeah. Because that's the only engines we have left. We have the engine that comes out of Chrome or the Chromium engine. Even Microsoft went that way. Even Microsoft gave up on doing it. I mean, it wasn't worth the resources and trying to do it. And I feel firewalls are getting that same way because look at how hard it is for even a company like Fortinet with all the CVEs they've had. Or Cisco recently with their CVEs.
Yeah. So somebody commented that moving the FreeBSD stack at Netflix to Linux would be a monumental task. It actually probably wouldn't be, in all honesty. But if you hire a bunch of people that understand FreeBSD and can do kernel code, right, and can roll your own, and building world is super easy, and the dev chain is a lot simpler than a lot of the Linux distributions, you'd have to hire a whole new team that understood Linux, right? That's the actual monumental task. The porting the code is probably trivial.
Yeah, and they've done a bunch of my understanding is I talked to someone who was one of their devs a long time ago. It's just all kinds of neat things for packet streaming they had to do, which the dumbest part about what they actually have to do has more to do with licenses, because they can't do any type of multicasting. There's like a license rule, so they have to know what IP address and what household is actually getting each one. There's a ton of like accounting things they have to do. I was talking to him, and I'm like, that's so absurd. He's like, yeah. He goes, if a bunch of people started watching the same thing, we could do the packets differently, but it would violate licenses that we have with the movie companies that don't care that we're trying to save bandwidth. That's why they have all those edge devices that they do to make that work.
I mean, a lot of these things are also not forked rel, right? Like so I see somebody saying here you have to fork rel. I mean, a ton of these OSs are also Debian based, and you also see a lot of the ones that are in use in the enterprise software stacks. They're not based on any of the of the commercial chains, right? They have their own tool chains that develop their very own basically distribution, right? They're not RPM based in many cases. They basically just untar a working operating system, more like Atomic.
Yeah. And let me bring this up real quick, because you probably heard of Vios, right?
Yeah.
That's the one people keep talking about. I'm trying to find their price page, because they've really made a nice job on the on redoing the website and everything else. Where is the download rolling release? Where do you gotta find their subscription page? Because they only give you a rolling release now unless you buy their subscription. Oh, there we go. Now I can pull it up.
I mean, I guess it's possible they're rel based, but man, that's a lot of overhead. Yeah, I mean, I can see Facebook probably forked rel, probably forked CentOS, not rel or Fedora, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you want a stable version of Vios that you don't have to compile yourself and grab all the source code, it's only $8,000 a year. I mean, clearly this is what the home users should all keep suggesting. Well, I mean, they do give discounts. If you buy a 5-year subscription, it's only $6,400 a year. People keep asking me to do videos on this, like suggesting it like it's a home lab thing. I'm like, I don't think Vios is really. It's a good, if you have a job that you want to get in the enterprise networking space, take the time to learn Vios, play with the rolling release, learn it. I don't see it as the home user replacement for a pfSense.
So I've done work for a lot of enterprises, and I've never come across any of them that would touch any of that shit with a 1,000,000-foot pole. Like, where you're going to come across that stuff is data centers and other places like that are rolling their own, right? It's not going to be like we presently do work with a couple of Fortune 100s, and they would never touch something like Vios. They're Cisco or FortiGate or Palo Alto, or there's some sort of commercial vendor. They're not open sourcing it.
Yeah, exactly what Jason's saying right here. They really, is the large companies generally going to go for that, and bringing us back to what this whole topic is about. Is there an alternative to pfSense that's viable for home lab users? Nothing jumps out at me. I didn't know if anything jumped out at you for other open source firewalls. Like, all of them are defunct. IPCOP was awesome.
You learn to configure firewall command or whatever your tool of choice is in Ansible, and just push Ansible playbooks for all your firewall stuff, and there you go. You don't need a pretty GUI.
Yeah, you can just do it that way. Just do it all by hand. I was trying to find. So
there's another one. Cumulus Networks is another one of those very popular cloud-based one, and then Tinzer is the other one that you've obviously turned me on to. But Cumulus is used by a lot of the companies that just use the Broadcom reference platform, and then they throw Cumulus on it and have like an iOS-like interface.
I like that this one still exists. This is, I think this is probably a long derivative, like one of the, what do you call it? From IPCOP and things like that. But when you start looking, they have IPsec and OpenVPN, and it's really basic if you look at it. Even their documentation is really, really weak.
So I think in the end, what has made both pfSense and MikroTik live forever are wireless ISPs.
Yeah,
like that is the use case for both of these devices for many, many, many years, right? Because even same thing, right? Like when you get to the enterprise level, no one's running pfSense, right? They can like that $10,000 a year like licensing fee, that's like a rounding error.
Yeah.
It's
It's niche. So there's enterprises running it, but there's specific use cases. They have some good blog posts on Netgate because it's used extensively in the military. They've got some posts on that, which is weird. But I guess the Navy likes it.
The Wiziet guy is right that NVIDIA did buy Cumulus.
Oh, did they? Huh?
Yep.
Yeah. There's not much on there. Is Indian Firewall still alive? It looks like it hasn't had an update in 3 years. I used to use this one forever ago. All these fun firewalls, and they're all just gone now. This looks like this. Is there a firewall?
Indian OS. That's great. Is it big or little?
Yeah, big or little Indian. UTM hardware appliance. Looks like they got rid of the. I don't see like a free. I see free trials. They went commercial. That's all these companies, man.
Firewall is another one, right? They went commercial. They were open source for what? The bit I thought.
Firewalla?
Yeah.
They're weird. They actually commit a lot of stuff to open source, but their management control plane is web-based. So it's a cloud firewall. Yep. So you put things in the cloud. A lot of people like it. And from a home user standpoint, I think they're neat, but they're super basic. But they actually have decent layer 7 filtering support, and they're all controlled from a phone app.
Yep. Well, they also have an MSP platform for what it's worth.
Yeah. Someone reached out to me about that. I said, no, I'm not really. But ultimately, I actually had a conversation. I don't know if you were in the beginning live stream with the people at Netgate. They just, oops.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they gut check reacted too quick. I mean, because the reality of it is, unless I haven't actually dug under the hood of pfSense Plus to know, does the license key authenticate you against the upstate servers in some meaningful way?
No, it's not hard to bypass. You can simply clone the server and have a great day.
Yeah, okay. So all of those people that are shipping routers that are using pfSense Plus illegally, they're just going to do that. Like, this isn't actually going to solve the problem they're trying to solve.
Yeah, that's my exact words to them. I said, and they were mad because they're using their free licenses, and they actually commented on Reddit that people were, they have the emails where they were using, like, the people at, I guess, Protectility were using the Protectility email address to register it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, they have a way to stop it because they have to email you the license key. But then, I don't know, it doesn't, people are going to do this. I don't know. I guess it was a problem because people probably were calling their support with the same license key and stuff like that. That's probably clued them onto it. But at some point, even if you made it $500, if these other companies making all these little cheap boxes, they're going to pay one time.
Yeah. So Brick Guy's right. If he uses the NDI to authenticate, they're not going to be able to get updates directly from the Netgate servers. But again, this is essentially a CentOS versus RHEL thing here, right? Like, you buy one legit license, you clone the update server, and then you just modify the code. You have a build step that modifies it to call your update server instead, and you profit.
Yep.
Like, it's so easy. I mean, that's so trivially easy to defeat that. I mean, you made basically, you took the really, really lazy guys out of it, but now the people, you just upped it a level of difficulty, essentially.
Yeah. If you don't revert the license, you won't. If you have the free license and you're running like whatever the current version is, when the next version 2309 comes out, you won't get that version. That's all. And I have a video on how to convert back to CE. Yeah. I don't think the Plus versions were only doing it to get 2.5 gig support. Yeah, but 2.5 gig support's in 2.7 CE right now. So I don't know. 2.7 has the 2.5. Granted, Plus came out before, but this happened. All these incidents sound like they happen after, so I don't really get it.
Oh, cool! You can post comments from side of StreamYard now if you connect it. You don't have to. I don't have to independently pull the YouTube comments.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to this Brit expat guy's point, like, no one in enterprise is using pfSense. Like, this is not.
Yeah. It's niche. They have a market that's pretty big, but it's all
the shitty wireless ISPs again, right? Like, they're buying like bootleg pfSense boxes from some other third party for 20% less than the Netgate appliances, and that's what they're trying to stop.
Yep. And it's not, I actually gave them the example. I said, I have there's a couple companies that have just been cloning my videos and dumping them to their site. I'm not going to stop making videos. I don't know what to do about it. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
they're stealing my intellectual property. I'll send them a takedown notice, which I have a fun plan I'll talk to you about later on that, because it's going to be something funny. One of them that's doing it. What's the story in Untangle? I'm not a huge fan of Untangle. I don't know. I don't hate it. Arista bought it. They have a home lab version, which is nice. It's like $150 a year. It's got some decent features. I'm not a huge fan of the interface. I've never gotten, like, there's just things in the interface I think are kind of quirky with it. So, I guess this is a fair point. We have hardware support for Netgate devices. I have trouble with it. Well, the trouble in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, is really just the fact that it's hard to get things over in some areas, like getting them brought over. That can be really challenging. There we go. CLI all the things. I mean, that's the best way to learn.
It is the best way to learn, unless that CLI command is firewall command, in which case you should just kill it with fire. Just learn IP tables.
Yep. All right, we'll go probably another 10 minutes here to see if we can answer any more questions that people have about firewalls and things like that. Reposting Tom's videos is going to be my business plan. I'm sorry. I do know a school was using them. I don't know what to say about that. My videos are being played in a class, and I got this crazy DM from someone that they asked to remain anonymous because they spent money to an IT training class, and he goes, "I'm so angry that I'm watching your videos that I already watched in this class." And I said, "Are you at least watching on YouTube?" He goes, "Yeah, they didn't cut out your part where you said that, but they're jumping around in the video and using you as an explainer." He goes, "I didn't pay all this money to go to this class to watch you." I thought that was so good.
Lazy professors exist everywhere.
Yes.
You know what's funny? I don't even think I have a copy of my own Puppet book here.
So you look at your bookshelf?
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. By the way, I'll mention it one more time if I can find the link. There we go. The discount code good through November, just so people know, is going to be TACLITE, TACLITE. That'll get you that $30 off. I threw it in here. I thought it was nice that they're offering a discount. I mean, it'd be better if they didn't make mistakes, but hindsight's 2020. We all wish we didn't make mistakes. That's how I feel. In the end of the day, they're human.
Who OEMs their appliances?
Are
they Supermicro?
No, there's two companies that they use. They do the design. They have an industrial designer for all those white box ones, the ones that we have a lot of, like the 6100s and 8200s. The Supermicro is all the big ones, like the 7100.
Yeah, that's clearly the 1537 is clearly a Supermicro.
Yeah, and they don't hide that at all. Matter of fact, if you notice, when the boxes get shipped to us, they all have Netgate written or Supermicro on the box. They don't even like rebrand the boxing. They are custom because they have a special backplane in them. Not that custom, but it's a one-off.
But I mean, that's really easy to do. Like even our ProMedica, our big health system down here, they have a Lenovo tiny bomb that like literally they only sell their ProMedica. You just have to buy enough of them.
I started seeing repost Lawrence's videos in my feed, and I handle it like the React videos. That's how YouTube recommended me. Prefer the original. Yeah, if you let me know, if they're on YouTube, I can issue takedown notices. It's the third parties that are copying my content that I can't issue takedown notices. Well, I can. They just don't go anywhere because the people putting them up don't care. Those sites usually don't last long, so they don't get a lot of engagement. There's always like, I'm going to create a YouTube competitor. I'm going to go grab the popular videos from YouTubers to create it. And yeah. But for people, you can get Dell OEM op shows and not Dell. And Datto uses Dell micro PCs and servers for their appliances now. Huh. A bunch of old Cisco appliances were OEM Dell. How is the base Netgate model compared to the next step up? It really depends on what you need. I did that video recently because Jason had brought this up. Calculating just how much processor performance you need to run something like Snort or Suricata. I actually showed on a relatively low end system in that video, you can get away with quite a bit.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I was shocked at how much I was able to. I was running torrents through it. Like I was really taxing it. And the processor score is so slow, it still was
Yeah.
able to handle it without chugging. I was still able to, it was peaking. I mean, the CPU was hitting 90%, but it still worked.
Yeah, but Snort, it will basically the setup packets, right? Like once the stream is established, Snort is usually out of the middle, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily examining every packet.
No, it's the initial ones trying to do a
Yeah.
pattern match on it.
Uh-huh.
I did talk about the efficacy of Snort and Suricata as well in the home user situation where it's not, and there's a reason we use a lot more tools than that. It's like the most basic 101 protection. Makes insurance companies happy that you're doing something. That's a nice checkbox, but you really need for security a lot more than just something at the firewall.
Yeah.
How is the endurance of the eMMC and the Netgate boxes? Always concerned me.
Probably not great.
Yeah, they don't
All
do a
right.
ton of writing to it, so
Yeah.
it's not been much of an issue.
I
But
presume they don't write logs there.
they keep really minimal logs. So
Okay.
if you want, what they actually suggest, this is why they have like ones with eMMC and ones with SSDs. Like, do you plan to keep a lot of logs? Do you plan to write everything out and not ship it off to a log server? And by the way, keeping the logs on pfSense sucks. They didn't give you great tools unless you're going to the command line, which this is not what home users are doing. Like, export it to a log server, your life will be better.
Wow, that second to last comment there about SATA DOMs, he must have an entirely different experience with SATA DOMs than I have, because man, I've had so many of those fail over the years running VMware on them.
Yeah. pfSense runs perfectly fine at AMD Epic. No, I mean, I imagine Epic would run it fine. Yeah, this right here. Don't focus your firewall on layer 7 protection, especially me and you were discussing all the problems found in Squid. Like,
Yeah.
just don't try to run all that traffic inspection through your firewall. Use an
It,
endpoint protection. It's just easier.
yeah, so there is a lot of information you can gather, well, until Cloudflare gets their way, right? So you can look at SNI and you can stop a lot of command and control traffic just by looking at SNI, right? Just see where people are going. There's still benefit in running Snort or Suricata or something like Dark Cubed if you're not going to do that, right? Just to block the emerging threat stuff. Because so many of these ransomware things, if you stop them from phoning home to command and control, they can't get an encryption key and they won't actually encrypt you, right? So like it or just
Yeah.
block outbound except known things, right? Like you will stop 80 to 90% of ransomware if you only allow known things to reach out, right? Like if everything has to go out via proxy and you inspect via that proxy, or hosts that aren't allowed to communicate with the internet just can't, other than updates and known things, you will stop 80 to 90% of ransomware.
Yep. And matter of fact, that's one of the things I pointed out, that if you use even the open threat model ones, they have a ton of IPs in the block
Yeah.
list there. And
Yeah.
they're all the ones. DynaFi is a fork of OpenSense. That's true, which invalidates the whole question considering DynaFi as an alternative. Yes, because DynaFi is just pulling from, they pull, then they do. I don't really know what details they change. I don't think they change anything other than call it DynaFi. I don't really know any major contributions that they
As
do.
Ron said.
They just run said, because it says DynaFi everywhere. It said OpenSense. So it has a different logo, but it doesn't seem to be greatly different. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know in the comments. But yeah. Now, this is what DynaFi does have. Single pane of glass for all the senses. DynaFi supports their own OpenSense and pfSense from central management. I haven't looked at their implementation, but a few of these companies, what they do is they want to hold all your SSH keys, log in all your firewalls.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really small companies. I'm not ready to, let me just give some company access to that. Is some small company access to all my firewalls? Because what could possibly go wrong with their security taking over and sending commands to all my firewalls at once?
Ask Finality how that worked out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Is there a way around the Pi hole with pfSense. I mean, you can
Not
use
if
Pi hole
properly
or
configured. I mean,
yeah. You can there's the pfSense has write up on how to block outbound DNS. So you can use Pi hole and focus everything on that.
I used to run a service that I had a driver on my laptop, and we would do TCP/IP over DNS, because a lot of the captive portals that make you log in or pay for internet access, you could still do DNS queries. So we would just tunnel TCP/IP over DNS, and I mean, it's so slow to be unusable these days, and there's so much free Wi-Fi and hotspots, it's not worth it. But yeah, there's all sorts of fun things you can do like that.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll answer is because I've seen people asking about ClearOS. If I'm not mistaken, this is it was all bought by Hewlett Packard now.
Yeah, it's dead.
Yeah. HP has just bought all kinds of things. HP's bought a ton of storage things and shelved them.
And
Like
killed 90% of them.
yeah, I don't understand HP's
It was
business model. Like
Dell.
if Cisco buys something, all you know is license fees are going up. If Cisco,
Yeah.
the product may not get any more innovation, and it's definitely going to get a lot of license fees. But HP buys it just dies.
Well, so I mean, but if you're HP, do you really need 7 different network vendors, right? So some of these things, I think they're preemptively buying them just so they don't become competitors later, because they can get them cheap.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And the same thing, like 3PAR. That thing.
Yeah, I think 3PAR still exists. Maybe.
My understanding is it's
I
dead.
think they own Violin now.
It's I mean, I know HP bought it. That's what killed it, or it was on its way out. I'm not sure. It's going to be a mess. And one more comment on the filtering thing. If you're not familiar, look up Encrypted Hello by Cloudflare, because they've been pushing that. And there's more breakage.
That will kill
of
SNI. Yeah, that'll kill SNI inspection for sure.
Would you prefer HP or Broadcom to buy your favorite product? They can buy all the things we hate.
Yeah.
They're both good at Broadcom's good at monetizing things. They have their notes on buying VMware were great. Like there's no holds barred. You're like, we'll raise prices. People will whine. The enterprise companies are too intertwined with VMware to switch. Yep. They'll pay it. End of story. And the shareholders went wild.
Well, but I mean, that works until it doesn't, right? Then you get somebody like Azure coming out supporting multi-cloud stuff, right? So like you basically create yourself a migration path away from VMware using something like that.
Look, what's the product death count for HP, Google, or Intel? Google graveyard, hands down. I mean, Google can kill a product better than anyone. They've got it down to a science. Like, I love the Google graveyard. It's just so great. All right, we're getting way off topic here, but thanks for everyone for joining us. This was fun. Hopefully I answered your questions. I made sure in the first few minutes to answer the high level questions of what changed, what's back, here's your discount code. And then we spent the next 45 minutes talking about firewalls and all the headaches. We're all just going to move over to XCP&G from VMware. Jury's still out on that one.
Going back to VMware from XCP&G apparently is difficult.
No. What's difficult is when you don't remove the drivers properly. I actually I went and loaded Citrix over the weekend and then removed it, and it broke. Citrix still hasn't fixed it. Citrix is someone has a write up. Citrix is deleting a bunch of files and modifies a bunch of crap in the bootloader that they shouldn't when you uninstall. I don't know why they do that. Like, it's a Citrix problem. Citrix drivers, like, on their way out when you remove them, they're like, let me just go hammer this for you. Peace out.
Good luck. Good luck sorting this mess out. I'm out.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a known issue that Citrix, when you uninstall the Citrix drivers, peace out, man. It's going to destroy your bootloader. I don't know why it does that. Thanks, Citrix. They're working. They're actually rewriting all the. I believe even the ones for Windows are getting a full rewrite by the XCP&G team to avoid silliness. Like, they've let Citrix, because Citrix has a signing key for Microsoft. They're like, you guys can keep doing it. Well, now you're doing it wrong.
$349. That's a really lame excuse. Signing keys are not expensive.
Well, signing key and the fact that they've already got it like in the Windows Update thing. That's the more specific. It's built into Windows Update. The Citrix one is. It's not just the key, but like the whole. It's in the ecosystem for Windows. But I love Debian. Who doesn't love Debian? This person doesn't love Debian. All right, we're wandering way off topic. We'll do this again sometime. Me and Jason wanted to start doing some tech support stuff and answering Q&A. So back to that. All right, thanks everyone for joining. Use that offer code TACLIKE, get your discount, or switch back to CE later.